So yeah, Captain Marvel. I know this review is late, but hey, I had to make sure I got everything right, and now I do. And of course, I'm not going to get into the whole controversy involving Brie Larson and everything before Captain Marvel. I'm going to just leave a link to my thoughts down there in the description below, so you can go ahead and listen to that. But without further ado, let's jump right into the review. So this movie stars Brie Larson, Samuel L. Jackson, Ben Mendelsohn, and Jude Law. And this movie is about Carol Danvers, a woman with extraordinary abilities who is a part of an elite law enforcement squad known as Star Force. But when she's on a mission to stop some shape-shifting aliens from taking over worlds, she ends up finding out that there is more to her life than she originally thought, and in putting the pieces together, she realizes her true purpose. Now, one of the first things I wanted to mention are the characters. I know a lot of people aren't too fond of Brie Larson as Captain Marvel because they feel like she wasn't giving her all, or that, somebody else could be better in the role, but she was perfectly fine with me. I look at her situation as similar to Chris Hemsworth and Chris Evans. Both were okay as Captain America and Thor in the beginning, but a few more films down the line, they seemed to get more comfortable in their roles and became more likable characters to the fans. And I can say even Chadwick Boseman as Black Panther isn't the most charismatic character in the MCU, but I don't see people wanting somebody else for his role. But just like him, give Brie Larson a bit of time and she'll get more comfortable, and you'll probably even start to like her as Captain Marvel. I mean, we haven't even seen Endgame yet, so. But even with all of that, I really did like her performance as Captain Marvel. It wasn't spectacular, but it was good enough to have me want to see more with her. And of course, Sam Jackson did great as Nick Fury, but how they treated his character and how he was handled is a totally different story. I felt like they weakened his character as compared to how he was perceived in other films, but I guess it's okay. And Ben Mendelsohn did a great job as his character, and even the actress Lashana Lynch did an amazing job portraying Maria, Carol's best friend. And not to mention the little girl that played her daughter Monica did good as well. But let me not forget Jude Law. He is a great actor, and he also put on a good performance alongside Annette Bening, which I really did love her character and even the little bit of charisma she brought to her. And the visuals are good, not the best though, especially coming off of Infinity War and how awesome those effects look, and even Ant-Man and the Wasp. But for the most part, you can suspend disbelief while watching this film. And one of the things that I really did like about this movie is that it didn't have the cliche love interest. The only relationships that were built in this movie were through friendships with Maria, Fury, and Jude Law's character. I'm not even going to try to pronounce the name because I'm going to just butcher it, so yeah. And this movie does have some emotional parts that I really dug, in two scenes in particular that involves Carol Danvers and Maria Rambeau during the middle of the movie. And it does have some humor to it, just like any other MCU film, that some of it worked and some of it didn't, but overall I did like it. But where the movie kind of fell off for me is with something that happens in the movie that a lot of people probably like, but for me it just didn't work, and I wish that they would have gone the route that they were going to go, but we'll see what happens from this point on. But one of the big negatives for me about this movie is the fighting. You can tell there's some good choreography going on, but because of the choppy nature of the editing, it gets to be jarring at times in trying to spot what's exactly happening. And there's no real struggle for Captain Marvel. When she gets into a fight, yeah, the other side gets the best of her, but only for a few seconds before she's able to recuperate and take them down with ease. And there is no moment where she's like near death and then she comes back in spectacular style. It's more like, oh, you punched me a few times, now it's my turn, and she just takes them out. And I feel like they should have had some big threat for her. Don't have to be a big villain, but just something that she really has to overcome. And even though this movie does take place in the 90s, I really didn't get a 90s feel from it. I mean, you could take this movie and put it in present day and it only have a few differences, but overall the whole feel of it would be just present day-ish. I feel like they didn't really put too many emphasis on there besides like a blockbuster and the Radio Shack and other things, but they didn't really go all out with the 90s feel. And the music that they played didn't help it either. But with all that said, this is really an enjoyable movie. As compared to the other MCU films, you could probably look at it as being average or slightly above average, which I wouldn't disagree with you on. This is the first MCU film that I've witnessed that really brings into focus a lot of the continuity issues that are starting to happen with the MCU now. And it doesn't really have a standout character, just standout moments with the characters. But despite all of that, it is a good, enjoyable film. It's funny, it has heart, and the action is good, the story is good, and it has likable characters with great chemistry, and it is a fine entry into the MCU. And also to note, it does have two end credit scenes, one being the mid and the other one being the end credit scene. The mid credit scene is worth sticking around for. The end credit scene, you could probably skip out on or watch it if you want to. That's just my opinion. But with that, I give this movie a 7 because I really did like it. I've seen it 3 times already, and if you haven't checked it out, go ahead and check it out. You may end up liking it. And so with that said, this concludes the end of this review for Captain Marvel. I'd like to thank you guys for joining me, and I will catch you guys on the next one. Peace out. Hey, before you guys leave, make sure you hit that like button as well as that subscribe button. And you see that little bell? Make sure you hit that to turn on your notifications. That way you'll be notified for anything that appears on my channel. Hope to see you guys next time. Peace out.